Hey everyone, and welcome to the December edition of 3030. I am Pat Reinhardt from Conductor. As always, thank you so much for spending 30 minutes of your valuable time with me. We're going to jump right into it today because I have a million slides to get through. So what are we going to be talking about? We talk about all the algorithm updates that have happened over the last 30 days. This has kind of become a staple of every program right now, what I'm seeing and hearing. We're going to be talking about Google continuing to talk about the diminished weight of links lately, and there's a reason why, which I'll get to on my first slide here. We're going to go through, I noticed something on Twitter, that was Marie Haynes did a poll about guest posting, and I was pretty surprised about how many people are still doing this. So I'm going to talk about that pretty quickly. And then we're going to go over predictions. This is my favorite episode of the year, where I look back at 2020, look back at the previous year, which will be 2022, and see how I did. And then, make fun of myself if I did poorly. And then looking into 2023, what do I think is going to happen next year? So we're going to dive right into it because we only have 30 minutes. Number one, the algorithm updates continue. What am I seeing and hearing across the industry, right? So right now I'm going to do a little bit of an abbreviated look through today because a lot of these things just rolled out and I'm not seeing a lot, right? So I'm just going to cover, there's four things, right? Number one was there were various unconfirmed updates over the course of November. Now, anyone who has joined the program knows that when an unnamed update goes through, what I believe that is that it's not a new update or anything like that. It is just Google simply turning the dial up and turning the dial down. We saw a lot of activity on November 18th over the Thanksgiving weekend, again on December 5th. But going through all of our data, I did not see any wild swings. There were the doomsday commenters, all over the message boards and the sites that I frequent. But on the Conductor side, did not see anything really worth reporting outside of normal ebbs and flows and normal ups and downs that we see after major algorithm updates roll out. Now, remember, there have been many updates that have been rolling out, many big updates from, product review updates, core updates, a helpful content update rolled out, another helpful content update just rolled out, which we'll talk about in a second. But for the most part, what to do about when you see these things when it's not named, or someone's like, oh, I think an update is happening. More than likely, the update is them just tweaking the previous update or another update that has already happened. So that's something to consider. And what to do about this? Again, keep running clean campaigns and programs. When Google turns the dial up and down, you shouldn't see wild swings like this, right? Unless you had been previously impacted or held back, you should not see big movement up. Unless you've been doing something shady, you should not see major movement down. So you really should just maintain through these things, or largely maintain or marginally improve through these types of updates, right? The next big one is the December helpful content update. On December 7th, Google began to roll out the next iteration of the helpful content update. Anyone who joined the program back in August, we went through that over the course of a few episodes, actually, and it was largely a snooze fest. Nothing really happened, and I likened it to Mobilegeddon, or the mobile first update. Nothing really happened during that update. So from that perspective, right now, this one definitely has some teeth from what I can understand. There is a lot of movement going on right now, but it's still too soon to show anything because this update is still rolling out. I don't like showing activity until after something has rolled out. So December 7th, we still got another week or so before this is over because it's taking 2 weeks. So what to do about this is this targets, make sure you're creating quality content, and that's not just made to rank, right? You're not just creating content for SEO, you're creating content for humans, and also to provide value to those humans or users. That is what this is targeting. So keep that in mind as you're going along, right? That's what this is targeting. But next time around, we will go through, an analysis of what I'm seeing in our data. But right now, it's just too early to tell. But keep your eyes on your sites because this one is rolling out, and there is movement, and there are some folks showing some screenshots, but to me, it's still too early to tell since it's in the midst of rolling out. But this seems to have more teeth than the August version, so keep that in mind. Next one. This one rolled out yesterday, the December link spam update. So on December 14th, Google has graced us and started to roll out the December link spam update. And this one's different than other spam updates because this one is introducing the link spam AI, right? So link spam from that perspective, which is interesting. It'll take two weeks to fully roll out. 2 weeks to fully roll out. So from that perspective, what I'm seeing right now, again, this rolled out yesterday. There are a lot of people out there saying like everything is like broke right now, and I'm also realizing I have a typo on here. It is not link spam AI. I apologize. It is spam brain, like rank brain. I just realized I wrote the wrong thing here, so I'll correct that next time around. But regardless, since this rolled out yesterday, this is something that I don't really have a lot of information to share in it, unfortunately. Google stated that spam brain, excuse me, not link spam, that's me just saying link spam in my head and writing it. Spam brain, this is really targeting linked networks and people buying links. And they're saying that they can detect when sites are buying links or sites that only exist to pass link equity. So what to do about this is to not buy links, right? That's what not to do. So from that perspective, anyone that is working with anyone doing link building, if you are actively link building, pay attention to this one. This one's going to have a lot of teeth, so pay attention to this, right? So from that perspective, just keep your eye on your site, because I have a feeling we're going to see some big movements over the next 2 weeks. Again, come back next time and I'll have a full analysis, and I will also have the right name of the artificial intelligence that this is, which again is not link spam. It is targeting link spam. It's called Spam Brain. Excuse me for that mistake. Honorable mention here, which is not an algorithm update, but it is an experiential update on desktop. So continuous scroll has been brought to desktop as of December 6th. So what is that? On mobile, everyone knows that if you scroll all the way down, that the page loads and it's like an infinite scroll website, right? The pages just keep going. For the most part, this is something that was released last October on mobile. It is now on desktop. So that is something that it's not necessarily anything that there's nothing you can do about this, because it's just the way that Google is presenting itself. But what you should pay attention to is your page 2 and like page 3 keywords, anything that's on there, and seeing if they're getting more impressions than normal, because people may scroll more, further, and you might actually get a little bit more play on those later terms. But you're still, what I've been telling everyone about this is that, again, this is not an assessment change. This is not Google changing anything. It's not an algorithm update. This is an experiential change that they want the pages to just continuously load. So from that perspective, they will load up to 6 pages at the moment until they prompt you to actually click to load more. But the concept of page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, that's kind of gone now, right? That's the major update here, is that, the concept of page 1 is now just the top 10 links. It's just the top 10 links, right? So is this going to majorly impact anything? Probably not. But at the same time, I would imagine that you would probably start to see more impressions, start on the desktop flowing to, those, top of page 2 keywords a little bit more. But everyone, page 1 is still page 1. It is coveted, continue to covet it. I don't think we're going to see much change there. But from that perspective, that's it there. Quick question here. Do we have any thoughts yet on how to track if specific links have been devalued from the link spam update? I do not know. From that perspective, I would look at if you have, softwares that are tracking the links that are falling in and out of their indexes. SEMrush does this. That's a good way that you could track that. I would look at, links that have been dropped from the index, because I believe that Google will, ultimately, that'll give you an idea of the types of sites. But again, if you're buying links and the sites that they're linking to are sites that only exist to pass link equity, to buy links from, those are the ones that are going to get devalued, and Google will probably wind up de-indexing most of those sites as they move along. I think that's actually what we've been seeing over the last few weeks, because I've noticed a lot of links falling out of the index for a lot of sites. And I think that was Google maybe testing this. That's why I think this might be a big one. So definitely keep your eye on it. Okay, moving on very quickly. Again, we talked a lot about links over the last couple of things. Like, Pat, you really don't talk about links that much. I was like, well, because link building's a thing, and I think people spend too much time on it. But for the most part, this is why the link spam update. Now I understand why they've been so public about this. And there was a podcast or webmaster, webinar that I was watching. And there was a few snippets in here that I wanted to highlight about links in general. So here's one. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read what's highlighted. We no longer use links predominantly. This is directly from Google, by the way. We no longer use links predominantly compared to 20 years ago, for example, and also launched many algorithms to nullify link spam. And you probably should not waste your money in spamming links. First, backlinks as a signal has a lot less significant impact compared to when Google first started out many years ago. And then the next one, link building campaigns, which are essentially link spam according to our spam policy, right? And then spammers or SEOs spending money on links truly have no way of knowing if the money they spent on link building is actually worth it or not, since it's really likely that they're just wasting money building all of these spammy links. When we send it's a really interesting thing to watch. And next time, when we send this out to you, definitely go to YouTube and watch this video, and listen to the guy talk about it, the guy from Google. It's really fascinating to hear him talk about this. So definitely something to keep in mind. And again, a lot of people know my stance on link building. Again, I think there's more natural ways to do it. If you are working with your overarching marketing department, there's ways that you don't have to spend a lot of money and time on link building. Again, I'm not saying, for me, I wouldn't do it. I haven't run link building campaigns in over 10 years. But for the most part, I'm not saying that links are not important. Links are important. It's just the way you acquire them. You have to be so careful. And I'm really worried that a lot of people are going to get blindsided here by this link spam update. So if you have been actively building links or working with a company that builds links, definitely keep your eye on your sites. I'm hoping everyone gets out okay. But this one feels like a big one. And now a lot of these public statements about links and link building that they've been talking about make a lot more sense to me now, because they just released this update, which may prove to be big, may prove to be nothing. But I have a feeling that releasing this AI, this is going to be a big deal. And I think we're going to see a lot of movement here over the next 2 weeks. So keep your eyes on it. Again, rolled out yesterday. There's nothing I can show you right now, but come back next time and I'll show you what I'm seeing. All right, moving on. Last one before we get into predictions. So this is one I will move through quick. Apparently people are still doing guest posting. So Dr. Marie Haynes, anyone knows, I've known Marie for a long time. I used to work with her at my old agency. She's super smart, super nice person. I've spoken to her at a few conferences. And she put out a poll just asking if people use guest posting for SEO reasons. Anyone who doesn't know what guest posting is, again, I always have to remind myself and the audience that there are people at all levels of SEO knowledge here. So guest posting, or guest blogging is another name for it. It's very straightforward, actually. It's exactly how it sounds. It's you writing content for other sites. You are guest posting or guest blogging on someone else's site. And what happens is people guest post on each other's sites and they trade links. So what happened was that this turned into a super spammy way to build links. And because SEOs can't have anything nice, Google started to see this as spam because it became spam, unfortunately. And then has publicly stated all the way back to 2014 that guest posting is bad, it's dead. We have filters that we know when you're doing it. But here in this poll, and there was like over 400 people that took it, which to me is statistically relevant, that 40% of the folks said that they are actively engaging in guest posting. Again, Google has come out very, very publicly and said that they will penalize sites and do penalize sites that they know are guest posting. It's not hard to determine when you're doing that, right? And if you want to know, like all people who send you those LinkedIn spam emails, it's probably these guys, that are saying that. Who doesn't? The majority of people. Yes, backlinks are king. All this stuff, again, everyone, it's all, there's a big pie out there. Links are a slice of it, but that slice has gotten significantly smaller over the years. So, when you come into these things like, Google has been trying to figure this out for many years. And now that they have an artificial intelligence specifically designed to find link spam, you got to be careful. You have to be careful when you're building links. Again, if you're working with your marketing department, with PR, with your social media teams, there's a lot of ways that you can create great content and get it out there and get valuable links without having to spend an arm and a leg. Again, I'm not saying, that there isn't value in it. I'm not saying that, because I think of link building as a last mile thing. Like, hey, I want to, like, I'm at position 4 and I'm trying to beat my top 3 competitors and I want to get to position 2 or position 1. That's when you go and you strategically build links to a site, not just, hey, every month I'm building a number of links because that's what I do. Like, that's not a good way to approach link acquisition, right? There's smarter and safer ways to do it. And, keep your eyes on your site. I really hope that everyone gets through this without too much pain, right? So, last 15 minutes. Here we go. My favorite time of year is predicting, seeing what happened last year, taking a little bit of a retrospective, and then looking to next year. So let's see what I said last year, right? Predictions for 2022. Same slide. Page experience factors will continue to become a larger ranking factor. We will continue to see new result types and filters invading the SERPs. Google will continue to show more transactional terms for more historically informational terms, and Google's volatility will continue, if not get worse. This is what I said last December, last December, right? So from that perspective, how did I do? This year, pretty good. I'm going to say that 100% that page experience has become a bigger ranking factor. I will say that there are a million more filters and a million more different, result types out there. Definitely more transactional terms. When you put something in, you're getting a lot more like specific local results, a lot more shopping results and things of that nature. And the thing that I've been harping on for 2 years, Google's volatility will continue to get worse. I was dead on that one. I don't think anyone can argue with me. Like the third one, you could probably argue with me on, but I think I did pretty damn good, right? So I'm proud of myself, everyone. I think I did okay for 2022. But 2022's past us, right? We're at the end of 2022. So what about 2023? I have 5 predictions for you, right? Here's the first one. Google's volatility will continue to intensify. This is the least surprising prediction from Pat Reinhardt, considering I've been saying this for 2 years, right? Again, a lot of people who have joined the program have seen this slide building over time. As you can see, volatility has been wild back to December 2020, right? And so much so that you can see that all through 2021, it was in a heightened state of activity. And really back in this last summer, Google is so volatile that SEMrush changed the way that they measured volatility. That's how volatile Google is. Like, we're looking right now at this right here. This is what this month looks like. And what you're seeing is like, oh, that doesn't look that bad. But remember, this in December 2020 is this in December 2021, right? These are the same thing. SEMrush has just changed the way that they measure volatility because Google is so volatile. Again, this is not going to change and this is not going to slow down. We saw so many things, we saw helpful content update, even though August was a snore. We saw a lot of bucket events like this. Bucket meaning like Google turning something down and something precipitously dropping, testing, and then turning the dial back up. And then all of a sudden the site shoots back up. I haven't seen stuff like this from back 2009. We've seen some sites taking off. Again, here's a site that I've showed many times, went from 1.5 million to 2.5 million sessions in several weeks. That's crazy, 14%, increases like that. We've seen sites being wiped off the map. And we've seen, and the other thing that's interesting is all of these updates a few of these updates have started rolling out on top of one another. So when a good example is the September core algorithm update rolling out September 12th, and then the product review update rolling out on September 21st, but then both completing on September 26th, right? So the product review algorithm update rolled out over the September core algorithm update. So how do you know which one impacted you? It's very hard. Also, the length of time that thing, is changing. Some big updates still take 2 weeks to roll out, but Google has been rolling out a lot of smaller updates very quickly in the terms, sometimes it's 5 days. And then another good example of this was the spam update that rolled out, the last spam update that rolled out on October 19th and then finished in 42 hours. So we're actually getting more, these updates out quicker. And that, to me, means we're going to see more of them, and which means more updates, which means more volatility, right? And also, it's going to be more confusing. Now, a couple of things to pay attention to with this one, right, is that things are rolling out on top of one another and in tighter succession. It's going to be harder to pinpoint like what updates are actually impacting you, right, as they're rolling them out one right after another, or really one on top of one another. So keep that in mind. That, I mean, you should know what these updates do, and you should know when they start and when they end, but you should also be very careful how much time you spend digging down in a rabbit hole for a silver bullet about, well, I have to prove to my higher ups that this was the core algorithm update that hit me. I mean, that doesn't really matter, if you're doing everything right, these things shouldn't really impact you that horribly. But at the same time, like, don't spend too much time trying to pinpoint it was this one versus this one, because it's even harder now, because now there's updates rolling out on top of one another, right? And again, that rolls into the next one, pun intended, is that updates are starting to roll out faster, right? Updates are rolling out, historically it's been normally 10 to 14 days. And then some of the bigger ones, you're still seeing that, like the spam update that just rolled out, they said about 2 weeks. The core algorithm update that rolled out about 2 weeks. But all these other little ones are rolling out faster, where usually they would say, yeah, that takes 7 to 10 days. They're taking 2-3 days now. So again, it's going to be more updates. They're going to be finishing quicker. And that means that the dial is going to turn up and down more and more. And the last point is that Google doesn't care about your feelings anymore. Google historically has been very nice to the SEO community by not rolling things out over the holidays, by not doing things around times that people take off, not spacing things out so people have time to breathe. None of that is happening anymore. Google's doing whatever they want. So keep that in mind. Even right now, this link spam update rolling out this close to Christmas is insanity. They haven't done something like this in a few years. And typically they're very good about the size of the update. And I feel that this link update that just rolled out is going to be sizable. So keep that in mind. Prediction number 2, visual search will become more prominent. Thank you, TikTok. And what is that? Everyone, we've covered this a few episodes ago, but for anyone who doesn't know, Gen Zers, they're saying that 40% of Gen Zers use TikTok and Instagram to start their searches and not Google. And Google has come out and said in many publications that they are worried about this, that this is a major concern for them, a major shift in search, right? From that perspective, when you look at search on and what Google came out with, I mean, it was all visual elements. It was all visual search. Am I right? I mean, when you take a picture, Google will find a product, right? And then you can add a color to it, and then you can do iterations off of that search, which I think is super cool. All the updates that are coming to Maps and that have been made to Maps, it's all visual. It's very, kind of looks like Instagram, very interesting how they're doing that. And also this one of the newer features, the shop the look, they call it, where you have a picture of an outfit, and then there's 3 little thumbnails below that have the elements of that outfit, so you can buy each individual one. To me, this is a major signal that Google is going to be investing in visual going forward, and you can see it even with things like this. Like, what a cool experience, What is this? Is it a croissant? Is it a muffin? You take a picture of it. You throw it into, you take a picture of it, and Google will search it, and it will look for, it does a little magic. See the little bubbles? That's the magic, happening in the background. And then it tells you what it is, and it's this thing. And then it'll tell you, near me, you can go buy one, you can go eat one. So there's a lot of this. And what does this feel like? This kind of feels like Instagram, I mean, I don't personally use Instagram or TikTok, but I have learned a lot about it over the last year, just out of necessity. And, a lot of the ways that a lot of this functionality works, it's very similar to these platforms, right? The video that they're using. And I think 3 things to think about here is, number 1, do you take care of your images? A lot of brands don't. They don't even have, image alt tags. Like, did you know there's schema tagging for images? A lot of people don't know that. So from that perspective, strong signals that Google is going to become a more visual company moving forward. And you can already see it in the SERPs, in the result pages, right? It's a lot more visual things. There's a lot more visual filters and things of that nature. They just released, the scrolling, filters on mobile, which I actually really like. That's a visual feature. So keep that in mind, like, if you're paying attention, because image makes sense for everybody. Same thing with video, right? A lot of brands don't have video, and there's a very good reason for that most of the time. And typically it comes down to budget. Like, not everyone has a ton of money to dump into this huge production, right? So, but a lot of it's a big opportunity, right, to go out there and get that in, because video is in the SERPs too. Like, they're out there. That is a visual thing. So from that perspective, like, go out and learn about what these other platforms do. That's where Gen Z is. That's where the future audiences are starting their search, in these closed environments. And our brands have to be there, right? And that's where I come to, like, Google isn't the only search engine. It's really interesting. Branch out, invest in these platforms, and figure out what you should do. I'm not saying stop paying attention to Google. Google's not going anywhere. But that is a sign of things to come, right? And down the line, is that Google probably will be used less in the future. Not like to the point where they're like not going to be relevant anymore. They're probably always going to be somewhat of the elephant in the room, but there are other ways that people do search. And the visual portion of it is really, I can see it. I can see Google focusing on it. You can see it as the SERPs have changed over the last year, over the last couple of years, a lot more visual now. And then when I watched Search On, I was like, holy crap. I was like, this is like, they are going all in on this. So take that into account as well, right? Prediction number 3, more companies will take technical SEO seriously. So this is a trend that I am happy about that I have seen, because what does Google want, right? Give users a good experience, or i.e. make sure your site works, right? So from that perspective, the problem with this though is that a lot of companies still push a button to do an audit, right? Like this is a problem. Like pushing a button for an audit is a problem. You should have a process set up, right? Because when you do this, you push a button, everything goes 2 or 3 days, 1 or 2 weeks, 2 or 3 days to do the analysis for it to run, 1 or 2 weeks to do the analysis, put it together. You meet with your tech team, another 1 or 2 weeks to get it into a sprint, and the time that it takes for all this to happen, to find out there's a problem on your site technically, to actually getting it fixed, it just takes too long, right? And everyone's heard me talk about agility. If you move fast and you set up systems where you can get this done and get that information directly to the IT person, then that's the right way to go, right? I think a lot of companies are starting to think of this always on mentality, where technology is always running and sweeping through your site. You have alerts based on those crawls that you can get alerted in many different ways, whether that be email or Slack or Teams. There's real-time alerting on top, and then those alerts go directly to the IT team, and then all you have to do is meet monthly, something like that. I'm not saying like this is this is a typical process I have helped customers set up, but for the most part, think of it that way. This is a shift that is happening, which I'm really excited about. And some things to pay attention to is, number one, do you know your site health? Obtain some form of auditing technology. Everyone here probably knows by now that Content King is owned by Conductor, so I would suggest using Content King. But again, some people, again, at all different levels of SEO, if you need some just to see how it's going on, download Screaming Frog. Go out and get a smaller tool just so you can get an idea of what's going on, right? And from that perspective, knowing your health is like half the battle. G.I. Joe. Your approach, if you're only hitting a button or you're still looking at data on a monthly, quarterly, or annually basis, you're not looking at it all the time, you have to start thinking about how much money are you losing if something breaks 30 days ago and you didn't fix it, right? That's a problem, right? That's totally a problem. And then the next one is what algorithms are targeting specifically, right? It's not really a mystery. Google's done a pretty good job of telling everyone what's going on, because it's not just about your content anymore. It's about your experience. It's about the way your website works. So take that into account. So I think that this is going to become a bigger focus, and everyone here, focus on the technical health of your site. It's something that people are paying attention to, and Google is paying attention to, right? All right, 2 more quick ones, and then we're going to go. Prediction number 4, companies, hopefully not yours, will waste money on the metaverse. I am going to be very, very quick on this rant. Do not do it. The metaverse is not ready. I can already see companies making the same mistake they made with voice search and all the stuff and all the skills that they made for the Echo. There is not enough happening in the metaverse right now for you to invest money in it. And I hear a lot of people, I get a lot of questions about like, well, what should I do about the metaverse? You should do nothing. Those avatars don't even have legs yet. Like, you should do nothing. Wait, it's not ready yet. That's one of the things to think about, right? It's cool. It's interesting, but it's really not ready to dive in. It's not ready for prime time, in my opinion. I think a lot of people are spending money there that they shouldn't, right? There's also no one using it. Facebook can't even get their employees to use it, right? And that's where the one that you would go to. It's not like you're going to like Second Life or you're going to The Sims, right? You're going to Horizon. But from that point, there's no one in there. Like, the only person I've ever seen actually go to it is my nephew to walk around for 15 minutes, and he got bored and then he left. The other part of it is that it's probably going to get super weird, super fast, like everything else on the internet. So make sure you want your brand to be there right now, because in the future, you may not want your brand associated with it. So from that perspective, that is something to consider as well. But I'm going to move on there because I know we only have a minute. The last one is a very quick. I believe that many people are going to forget that Universal Analytics are going away, and they're going to get caught with their pants down when it gets shut off in the summertime. So PSA, everyone, for people who are just using regular old GA, that Universal Analytics is shutting down on July 1st, 2023. If you're using GA360, that you have an extra year to do that, but Universal Analytics goes away July 1st, 2023. So with that, everyone, we talked a lot about algorithms today, but it's not really about algorithms. It's about creating great content that people love and want to read, because if they love that, then they'll love you as a brand. With that said, thank you all so much. Those are my predictions. Again, I say this every time. This is my favorite part of my job, and I wouldn't be able to do it without all of y'all. I appreciate you spending 30 minutes of your very valuable time with me. I hope everyone has a happy and healthy and safe holiday season, and we will see you in 2023.